Welcome to the CrossFit Max podcast.
What is going on, team? Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We have a very special guest, someone that has been almost like a family member to me the last few years, and I've been very fortunate to meet her, and she is a massive role in our CrossFit Max community, and that is Mama Lucy. So she has a pretty high stress job, a very sedentary lifestyle, and I think you guys are going to get some good value on how she turned that lifestyle completely around and now lives a very healthy one. So if you haven't given us a rating and a review, please do so down below, and let's get to it. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. We're in it. Mama Lucy's with me.
Hello, everybody.
Are you excited?
I'm excited. Now I'm getting nervous. Like, being in this room is weird.
Everybody gets a little nervous, but your daughter did a great job last week. So if those of you guys who don't know, Daphne was in last week's episode. And if you haven't listened to it, you have to go back to listen to it first. And her mom said, you know what? I want to one-up you, so I'm going to be the guest next week.
I'm the sequel. The perfect sequel to the daughter. I can one-up her in this one.
How did she do last week?
She did good. I mean, as I listened to it, I could see where I could give her some improvement points, but I did not give her improvement points. I let her go with it, and I think she could do really good in 2 years from now. Let's see how she matures.
Yeah, well, we did the start 2 years, and then we'll do another 2 years. In 2 years from now, she'll be 18, almost 19 actually, which would be crazy. Wow.
That's crazy. That makes me older too.
I think she did a great job, actually. I think there were some really cool points that she brought up that were interesting, especially the scheduling part, which we'll talk about today as well.
Yep.
But I thought there were some really cool things that she brought up throughout the podcast that I wasn't expecting. Also, as you know, and maybe the listeners don't know, but we just say, hey, do you want to come on the podcast? We're going to talk about this topic and then maybe a couple of subtopics. But we have zero script, zero planning. We have nothing. I'm like, hey, let's just go up to the office. We'll click 3, 2, 1, click the red button, and we're just going to go. So
yeah, exactly. I think Brandon sent me a text and said, you're up next. What? Okay, all right, I'm ready. But yeah, it's kind of weird to have not even a piece of paper in front of me to tell me what I need to say. So
it'll be great.
I'm letting Brandon run the shop.
Before we get into today's actual topic, we're going to do banter topic. And we literally just finished a really cool event at CrossFit Max, which was our 2-year anniversary at the gym, which is pretty epic. And also it was a charity event for Papa Miller. He got an entry to the London Marathon, which for those of you guys who don't know is the hardest entry to get into in the entire world, because they do it, it's like a lottery, they do it at random, and I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's
this
15?
year there were 800,000 people.
I think more, I think 900.
900,000 people applied. I applied.
You applied also?
Yeah, I applied.
Okay.
And I think they take like 50, I think it's 50 total, but 15 through the lottery or something.
Yes.
It's like some crazy,
so there's
like the odds are crazy.
The two ways of getting into it. There's the lottery, which like you said, I think they take about 15-ish thousand out of 900,000 every year, which is crazy. And then the other amount is done through charities. And Alan didn't want to just enter any charity, so he did the kidney research. I can't remember what the charity's name, but it's for kidney research, which is close to his heart because his daughter Hannah has dealt with lupus her whole life, which has affected her kidneys quite a bit. It even affects her kidneys to the day. She has kidney stones all the time. She always has to have surgery on them. So it was really cool. We had a fun event. What did you think of the event? We did a 5K great. Charity event. How did you think it went?
I think it went really good, and I think what was really good is, and maybe from my own personal story, I knew Alan before I knew Brandon and Susie. So, and Alan with Phoenix Club. So some Phoenix people came along as well from the Phoenix Running Club. So it was kind of nice to see the two worlds collide. Yeah. And running, you'll probably hear later, is a big passion of mine as well. So it was really good to do that. I'll be surprised. I'm a little bit surprised, Brandon, that our 2-year anniversary was a run.
Yeah.
But I think that's great because for me, I'm a runner. And I think for a lot of people in the club, it's pretty intimidating. So I think it was really great bringing everybody together to do that. And we had a pretty good turnout.
I think it was intimidating from both sides. It was intimidating for the Phoenix Run Club to come to a CrossFit gym. And it was intimidating for a lot of the CrossFit Max people to go out and do a 5K run.
Exactly.
So yeah, kind of brought both those worlds together. We had thought about what should we do. Last year we just did one big CrossFit workout, and I'd been talking to Alan about doing this for, I don't know, 2 months maybe. Because I asked him, I said, what, like, you're at this age now, you're trying to hit this insane sub 3 hour marathon. You hit it a couple years ago. I guess he's trying to do it with his running partner, Liz.
With Liz, yeah.
But I'm like, what's the next goal? What are the major marathons? There's 6 major marathons in the world, right?
Yeah,
do you know
there's 6
them?
majors. There's Berlin, Tokyo, London, New York, Boston,
Chicago?
And Chicago.
Yeah. So there's a 6 major. So I'm like, well, why
Do
don't you just do them all?
Yeah.
Like, you're at that age now. You're retired. You're living
Get it
life. Like,
done.
get it all done. And he was saying that the London Marathon, it's the hardest to get into. It's not by, physical tests like Boston. You have to qualify. I'm not sure. Do you have to qualify for the other ones?
Chicago just brought in stricter qualifying times.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
New York qualifying times and a lottery.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about Berlin and Tokyo, but I know that those majors are getting really tough to get into. So qualifying times are starting to be the way to go.
I think he's done
He's done
New
Boston.
York.
I'm not sure if he's done New York.
We'll have to ask
We'll
him.
have to ask, yeah.
But anyways, that being said, it was really cool. We decided, what do we want to do? Do we want to do a run? Do we want to do a CrossFit workout? And I said, you know what? This is kind of something that's also close to heart for us, close to home. And, I've only been a part of their family. We just hit our 3-year wedding anniversary, which was cool. Thank you. And yeah, I feel like I've been able to see a small glimpse of what Hannah has had to go through over her life. And I've heard stories. She's practically spent a big part of her childhood in a hospital, which to me is crazy because we both talk about this a lot, but one of my biggest fears is being in the hospital. I hate it. Even when we had Thomas's birth and everything, there's this eerie feeling of going in there and seeing sick people. This is literally why I love CrossFit so much, because it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum, which is health. We want to stop people from going to the hospital. Obviously, if you break a leg or something, then you have to go. But when you see people going there for
chronic illnesses, and it's crazy.
It's rough.
Yeah,
it's rough
it's
for
really
sure.
Rough, yeah.
So I think it was pretty cool. I don't know what he was at, but I know his goal is to raise 2,500 pounds.
Yeah, so that's about $6,000.
No, less, 45.
40,
about 4,500 Canadian.
45 Canadian. So and I think he's at almost 1,000.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Which is pretty good. So he's 40% there.
I thought it was pretty cool when he had a little speech on the box and he talked about the CrossFit Max community being super strong. I really do believe that CrossFit gyms breed the best communities out there, and we talk a lot about. I feel like if you go to any CrossFit gym, all of them are talking about how amazing the community is. And yeah, so it was really cool.
I find that our community is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Like, we have great people, and I know Maria, for example, this week she posted something that she's starting to feel the love for running.
Yes.
And I'm still working on Amanda. We'll get Amanda eventually running,
yeah.
But it's cool to see. I think you either love or hate running. It's one of those things. But I think even Daphne, she's picked up running since she's the last couple of years, and it's nice to see people bringing that in because it's such a great sport.
We've been open now almost 2 years. Technically, our anniversary is in 2 days from now on Monday, and we're Saturday recording. What has been some of the biggest highlights at CrossFit Max for you over the last 2 years? Because now you're like we said in the podcast, were we accurate about the September starting?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
so you started in
yes.
September.
I need to correct a few fact points from last week.
So you guys started in September, but you were the first clients to sign up for the Foundations program at CrossFit Max, which is pretty cool.
So we participated in the founder package. We wanted to be founders, so we came into that. So that was really cool.
Did you see the photo I put up of Daphne?
Yeah, that was really cool, where she's on without even the mats. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think like we've supported you and Susie through COVID, because we sort of got to know you a little bit more through COVID when you had your online coaching and the yoga in the park and the 5Ks in the park.
Yeah, we did 5Ks in the park.
Yeah, so that was really fun. And so that's when Daphne started to meet you guys. And just from my experience, I've known Alan before. So, so then when Daphne wanted to join CrossFit, so that's true. She did actually come to me and say, I want to try this CrossFit thing. Yeah. And I said, okay. And I was going to another gym. So I was happy at my...
What other gym were you going to?
I was at F45. And I'm sure we'll get into that later. But I was ready for a change. I thought I was not ready for a change, but I was ready for a change. And she was like, well, let's try it and, support Brandon and Susie. I'm like, okay, I'll come. I'll do the foundations. It's just going to help me with my technique.
Yes.
And when I got into it, I obviously fell in love with it. But I think over the last 2 years, the biggest thing I think is just, I had never honestly lifted a barbell before. I'd gone to the gym before, but I'd never actually done a clean and jerk or a snatch or any of those things. So I think just learning those skills in the last 2 years has been really good. I did 2 opens. The first two opens. The first open honestly was a complete disaster as far as I'm concerned. I did not feel like I was in any way ready to do it, but I did what I could, and it was pretty emotional. I had an emotional time.
One of my favorite photos of us is us hugging when you were...
I was crying.
That was after the first...
Toast to bar. Yeah. It was toast to bar when I think I managed... And that's actually a good story, because in that open, I did 19 toast to bar, and Justin was my judge. Yeah. And he was pushing me, and I was just struggling like, oh my God.
You did 19 over... like a 9-minute, it was a 14-minute workout.
Because there was rowing first.
Yeah, there was a 14-minute workout. You had rowing to start, toast to bar, and then it was a chipper workout. So there's other things.
I think there was wall balls after.
Wall balls, cleans, and muscle ups. But you got stuck on the toast to bar.
Stuck on the toast.
So for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I think it took me 10 minutes to do 19 toast to bar, and Justin was like, okay, just get to 20, just get the last one. And I just couldn't get my toes on the bar. And I came off and I was crying, and Brandon came over, and Susie and Justin were all there and like rallied around me. And it was really emotional. But what's really cool is that when we redid that workout in January, because I think you had some of the old opens, and I did 55 toes to bar. Still singles, but I was really happy. And I got to the wall balls. Yeah. So just to see that progression was really great. And so I think for me, definitely the open, I'm a competitive person, so I love all the competitive parts, like the max fit workout and the turn up the heat, did that twice. The open workout, like I just feel so part of this community. I really love being in this community. And I think just the competitive part is I really like that as well.
There is something to say about the competitive part about CrossFit, because I think when a lot of people hear competitive, they think, oh, you're trying to be better than the person next to you. But I think the message is, you're trying to do better than you did yesterday.
Exactly.
So when you're talking about, this is a prime example, when I did the open the first time, when I did workout in March, let's say, or maybe February, got stuck at 19 toes to bar. 8 months later, I'm able to train, I'm able to work out hard, I'm able to develop new skills, and then I'm able to redo a workout I did, and I was able to not just do 31 more toes to bar, I'm also able to get to the wall balls and progress and do better than what I did. So yes, there's an aspect of like, there's the competitive drive that I want to do better, but we don't want to look at it as if like, I want to be better than the person next to me. I want the person next to me to be going as hard as they possibly can, because if that person's going harder, I'm going to go harder and I'm going to achieve better results. So I think that's something really important to know when you say like, you're a competitive person. I'm a very competitive person too. Growing up, I played sports at a higher level and I always wanted to win, right? But I think sometimes people forget that competitiveness doesn't always come from, I want to beat the person next to me. It comes from within, and I want to do better for myself. So when it comes down to that situation, I don't want to get stuck on those damn toes to bar. Exactly. I want to be able to finish them and progress.
No, and I think that I know we're still banter topicking, but, if I compare with F45, F45 was a great gym for what it's meant to be. Mm-hmm. But the concept of progression was not really there. Whereas here, and I totally agree with you. Like, I think the best feeling in the gym is when somebody gets a PB and they like scream, "Oh my God, I just got a PB." That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I agree. There's a little, obviously there's friendly competition with people that are kind of at your level. You're like, okay, when you're doing the 400 meters, well, I'm going to beat them. You see them at the turnaround, you want to try to beat them. Yeah. But it definitely comes down to just trying to be as best as I can. I used to try to be competitive with Daphne, but I gave up. I gave up on that a while ago. But
I'm sure in the Metcons you still kick her butt.
I try to kick her butt. Yeah. I know for sure I've got the cardio. I've definitely got more the cardio than she does, but she kills me on the strength.
Gymnastics
and the gymnastics and the strength.
She has the higher skill than you.
Exactly.
But you have the will
I have the endurance
and the endurance to push harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what she said she needs to work on, and what she has worked on a lot. She's still young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think for the last 2 years, I'm here, I would say, five times a week, probably average. And I can't imagine being anywhere else. I'm really happy to be here.
You're crushing it. All right, let's end it there. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's go into the topic for today, which I feel like many people will be able to relate because you work a relatively sedentary lifestyle. Tell the audience what you do for a living.
Okay, so I'm a partner at an audit firm, an accounting firm called PwC. There's 4 main accounting firms in the world. They're called the Big 4 accounting firms. So there's KPMG, PwC, Deloitte, and E&Y. So you may have heard of those. So I work at PwC. So I'm a partner in the Montreal office, and I focus on financial statement audits. So I've been a partner for 12 years now. I became a partner in 2012, and it was actually right around my divorce. So it was a pretty difficult time in my life, but I was a workaholic at that point. And because of my workaholicness, I guess, I got to that promotion where I sort of got to a point in my career where I sort of hit a nice role. So I have approximately 85 clients a year that I'm responsible for, and I focus on financial services and pension clients. So I have a pretty huge workload of just in terms of client relationships, building my teams, getting the work done, regulatory reporting, all kinds of administration around those clients. And I'm also the leader of our pension practice in Canada. So I have a pretty big job.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure and a big job. It's been a great career that I've had. And I've been at my company for 27 years and still going strong every year. I'm like, okay, let's do this again. So yeah, from a career perspective, I have a very sedentary lifestyle. I'm most of the time on my laptop. And I would say the first 15 years of my career, I was very sedentary. I did no exercise really. I was overweight. I was really a workaholic. I was really focused on my job. I worked crazy hours, overtime.
What would you work? What were the hours like?
Back then, before I had the kids, and just when I started to have the kids, I was working maybe 14-hour days.
Crazy.
So now
sitting mostly.
Yeah, sitting down. I didn't do any exercise, nothing. When I was pregnant with the 3 kids that I have, no. I have a twinge of regret when I see the mummies here who've trained all through their pregnancies, and I did nothing. Mm-hmm. I was completely a sedentary working person. I would drive to work, come home, eat, sit down, go to bed, start all over. Gym was never even in my vocabulary back then. So it was completely different. So back then I was working 12 to 14 hours a day. I'd say now that in the position that I'm at, There's 4 months of the year that's pretty crazy. So I probably work like 12 hours on those days, but the rest of the months aren't so bad. There's really 4 critical months, but I'm able to sort of much better manage my time.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that we've worked on a lot over the last couple of years together. Before you even joined CrossFit Max, we were working with nutrition and lifestyle stuff for about a year before that. And yeah, so pretty high stress job, very successful in life. And something we haven't actually said, you talked about kids, but we know you have Daphne and she's your youngest child, but you have 2 others as well. So 3 kids, which I'm going through 1 right now. I know how much this little guy takes for time and, you know,
so
lack of sleep.
So, I mean, I have 3 kids. I have 2 sons, 22. My oldest son is in the military, and my second son is 20, and he's at HEC. He's trained in commerce at HEC, a French university. And then I have Daphne, who's my baby, so she'll be 17 in November. So
your baby.
My baby, yes. So so my oldest son has moved out, but I still have the other 2 at home. I took 3 maternity leaves. I came back, I took a full year off for each kid, but I came back and really just started back to work and had good daycares. And, you know, I had a nanny at one point, an after school nanny who would look after the kids. And so I was, it was tough for them when they were small, because I was really a workaholic. And I think in the last 10 years, I've really sort of changed my sort of perception and my sort of whole way of I don't work to I don't live to work. I work to live. I there's a few things that have happened in my life where I realized that, you know, life is short and I don't want to give it all to the office. And now that I've sort of reached a good point in my career, it's like, okay, you know what, I want to take some time back for myself.
When did you start exercising? It wasn't gym first, it was running first.
Yes.
Right? So you have child 1, child 2, and then boom, Daphne comes out. Was she planned, by the way, or accident?
Daphne was sort of an
planned.
Accident.
Okay.
I had 2 boys, and I'm like, okay, do I try for the girl? Am I going to get the girl? And so I was sort of on the fence, and then I got pregnant.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
And then I was psychologically ready for 3 boys, but I was very happy when I found out I was having a girl.
We keep joking with Susie because she really wants a girl, and we keep saying that's going to happen. We're going to probably have 2. And it's going to be a boy, and then we're going to go for the 3rd.
Oh, well, Daphne knows that if my second son had been a girl, she wouldn't exist.
Oh, really? Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Daphne comes out. You take a year off again from work. And then how old are you at that point?
When when I went back from maternity leave, I was 36. So gotcha. I had Daphne when I was 35.
You didn't do any physical activity prior to that? Like never gym? You weren't a runner before?
No.
Oh, wow. So at 36, so 36 is you go back to work after having Daphne. At what point do you start getting into running, and how did you get into running?
So before, I dabbled a little bit. I remember when I was a teenager, I did a couple of step classes, and I did Stairmaster, but I was never when I was a teenager, I never did any sports. I was really a geek. I was in a nerd at school. My parents were really about grades. I was in the special program at school, like the honors program and all that stuff. So
you're super smart.
Yeah, I was super smart. So I didn't do any exercise. And then with my ex-husband, the relationship we had was, we just weren't sporty people at all. So I went back to work after having Daphne, and I was still sedentary for the first year. So it was only, I think Daphne was 2 years old. It was the summer that she was about to turn 2. And we had a pool in the backyard, and my son, who was 5 at the time, took a video of me lying on the sunbed. And then that night we watched the video on the TV, because we had one of those old camcorder things.
Yeah.
And I watched this video with the family, and the kids, oh, look, mommy, there you are on the sunbed. And I honestly looked like a beached whale. I was like, oh my God, like what the hell?
Okay.
And I sort of had this light bulb moment where I said to myself, I'm 37 at the time, and I look terrible. Like, what has happened to me? I was 50 pounds overweight. Do
you know what you weighed then?
I
Just
was
to give reference?
probably 185, 190. Like,
Okay.
I wasn't quite...
How tall are you?
5'5".
5'5". Gotcha.
So I was really not in a good place, and I had just completely let myself go. I just felt like everything went towards the kids, my work. Like and I had this light bulb moment where I said, what have I done to myself? So I joined Weight Watchers.
Okay.
And then I found this Couch to 5K running program in a magazine.
Cool. In a magazine?
Oh, wow. A Weight Watchers magazine.
Okay. Nice.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. So I said to my husband at the time, I'm going to try this Couch to 5K program, which was very, very basic.
Yeah.
And I started it, and I really liked it. And it was also this, not just the physical, but the getting out of the house away from 3 kids. I had I had a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old at this point.
Yeah.
And it was like, I actually get like 20 minutes to myself.
Okay.
So it was not just the physical, but it was also like a little bit of a release. Like, okay, and I started to feel time for myself.
Yeah.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually, so, and then I got really more and more into it. So then finally I was able to do a 5K by myself.
Do you know how long it took?
Oh, God.
Do you remember what the program was?
Oh, I don't remember, but
gotcha.
Really slow.
So you ended up running 5K.
So I ended up running 5K.
Did it feel like a huge achievement? Or was it kind of like, okay, what's next?
Well, so then it felt like it, but I wanted more at this point because I am a type A personality.
Yeah, exactly. You're never satisfied.
No. And then...
Which for most people, never working out a 5K, which, some people did their first 5K today. For many people, that's a huge milestone to hit.
Yeah, no, it's but
just to give people the
it was for me the tip of the iceberg, and it's like Rebecca, as an example. Rebecca, she said to me a few weeks ago that she wants to do a half marathon, but she said but I need to get to a certain point before I can go to the half marathon. And I said you just need to be able to like vision and set it as an objective, and you'll get there.
Yeah. I know all about that journey.
Yeah, exactly. So then after I did the 5K, I did something crazy, really crazy. I went to the running room, the Point Claire running room, and they have running clinics.
Okay.
And I joined up for a running clinic, but I decided to do a half marathon.
Oh my God. You went from 5K to half.
Yes, I went from a 5K to half marathon running clinic, and I joined this clinic, and I did it was like a 4 months program.
Okay.
And I did a half marathon in Montreal, and it was 2011. I remember it was 2011, and I did 2010. And I did the half marathon, and then after that, someone at Running Room was also at Phoenix.
Gotcha.
So that's how I made the move over, because then I felt like I graduated from Running Room and I moved over to Phoenix. And actually, Alan was one of the first people that I met at Phoenix. So that's how the whole story comes around. So so running was my primary, and is still, I would say, my primary love. But CrossFit is very close behind, very close
creeping
behind.
up. Let's just say for about 6 months, it's definitely your top priority is CrossFit. For the other 6 months, when we got nice weather, you tend to like running a lot more.
Weather is a mindset.
It is indeed. Are you going to learn that this winter, though? That is the question.
We'll see.
Okay, so that's how you got in. So you're like 37. You start getting into running, and then you're pretty consistent. You did 5 half marathon. You complete the half, and then do you do a full marathon?
I did my first full marathon when I turned 40.
Gotcha.
So in between 37 and 40, I separated and I got divorced, and then I met somebody else who I'm still with, my partner.
Who is very, very fast.
He's an avid runner, and we actually met as runners. So our third date was a running date.
Wow. Cheesy.
And yeah, very cheesy. But
did you guys hold hands at all during the run?
No. But I tried to impress him, and he said, "Okay, just relax. Like, you don't have to impress me."
You're going way too fast right now.
Well, I was losing a lung at one point, and he's like, "Okay, you don't have to impress me." But no, so
just to give you guys an idea, her partner Guillaume runs a marathon in how long?
2:56.
2:56.
Yeah,
that's
so
like stupid fast.
Yeah,
just do the math, guys. 42 kilometers in 2 hours and 56 minutes, and figure out what that pace is, and just go try to run it for 1 kilometer. I dare you.
Yeah, I can't keep up with him, but I think also, and this is something that you've said a lot in other podcasts, and I think is really important, is that the person that you become is the person that you're also most influenced by.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I met Guillaume, he had a huge influence on just my whole outlook on fitness and health and everything. And because he was such an avid runner, and I was still, I'd only been running for 3-4 years at this point when I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't at any point as good as he was, because he had done all kinds of sports. So he grew up with a sports focus, whereas I didn't.
Yeah.
And so just his influence in my life really changed my whole outlook on, my physical abilities, like how sports and doing physical activity helps me mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did my first marathon when I was 40, and he actually paced me on my first marathon. It was
cool.
in Albany. It was Albany, New York, and a bunch of Phoenix people went down there, and he paced me on he ran it with me as my buddy.
What was your marathon time?
3:59:42.
Oh my goodness, right under that 4-hour mark.
I wanted sub 4 hour, and I gave him the mandate. I said, if you want to continue dating, you need to get the
It's relatively decent pace. It's like a 5:40 pace?
5:40, yeah.
Wow.
So it was 3:59:42, and let's just say the last couple of the last 200 meters was pretty stressful.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like, Lucy, you got to pick it up, and I was dying, and I got there, and then I passed at 3:59:42. I will always remember that number, 3:59:42. Still my PB in a marathon, and I think it's because I had a bunny, like my own personal pacer the whole run. So.
If you guys don't know what she's talking about when she says bunny, in races they have these people who wear these bunny ears. Well, did they always
wear a bunny ear?
No, he did not. But
mostly you have.
Mostly do they all wear bunny ears, or is that just a term?
Okay. Yeah, they actually.
So most people wear
do,
bunny ears with some color. When we did when I ran the 10K in Laval with Daphne, there were purple, I believe. I think they were purple.
Okay. So usually they wear like a special shirt.
Yeah.
They have a
like a
flag
post.
or a post.
So essentially, what these bunnies do is they are pacers for a specific time. So if you're running, let's say, a marathon and you want to run it in exactly 4 hours, there will be a bunny that has a big sign up and says 4-hour marathon, and you just got to try to stick with him. And in your case, if your goal is to be faster than 4, then you always got to be slightly in front of that bunny.
Yep.
And then there's the 3-hour 30 minutes, there's the sub 3 hour, and there's other times 3:15 I would imagine, and stuff like that. So that's what she means by bunny. So she had her personal bunny with her, and I'm just trying to picture Guillaume with bunny ears, because I know he would never wear bunny ears.
No, he would, but he was funny because he had the whole pace calculator. So
nice.
Exactly, he had everything printed out and knew exactly where I needed to be for every single kilometer. Okay, she needs to be at this point. Yeah. So he took it really seriously, because I think he wanted to continue dating me. So and then we've been together 12 years now, so it worked.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the gym? What was the entry into that point? Fast forward how many years? What got you into that? Because we're gonna dive into like the major changes between F45, let's say, you're running, and that combination of training followed into CrossFit, and how we've changed a lot of the things and some of the biggest adaptations I've seen you make. So what age did you start going to F45 now?
I think I was around 45, 46. I continued my running, and then a friend of mine, this F45 had just opened.
Yep. For those of you guys who don't know what F45 is, it's a 45-minute workout.
Yeah.
So that's why they call it F45. And there are a bunch of like circuits. You show up, there's stations ready for you. There's TV monitors, and on the TV monitor you see someone, let's just say, doing a dumbbell press or a squat or a jump over a ball. And then there's one, let's say, fitness instructor on the floor with you, cheering you on, helping you out, getting you set up and warmed up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and you know what? So there's usually 2 coaches. The classes are capped at about 30, depending on the class. And like you said, every day is different. But what's cool about F45 is that
nothing. No, I'm just kidding.
every single day, the same, well, they don't call it a WOD, but the workout of the day is the same everywhere in the world.
Yep.
So
it's a massive franchise.
Exactly. So it's a big franchise, and every day they post the workout that's on a TV. And everywhere in the world, they're doing the exact same workout. So you have, actually, F45 comes from Australia. So they have, like, I know that I'm doing the exact same training as somebody in Australia or in the US or whatever. So that was sort of a big point for them. And then you can wear like a special monitor that you get, you want to try to get to 45 points. So it like tracks your heart rate and you get points. So you can kind of competing with yourself to get a certain number of points per class.
Yeah.
And, you can see where you are on the leaderboard. So it's much more like sort of electronic. There's TVs and you pacing yourself and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I did that religiously until COVID. Like every morning, 6 a.m., I went to the 6 a.m. class. I loved it. It's a great energy. You know, you go in there at 5:50 a.m. And there's the music's pumping. Everybody's in a good mood. The coaches were kind of trained to like really get you moving and uplift you. And I mean, the energy in the class is really great. Like I can't say anything bad about it. I think for me, and I did that I made a lot of friends there, and I was also part of their community, and I loved the community there as well. But F45, and I don't know if you want me to get into it now, is...
Well, how many years did you do that? So you did until COVID?
About
like
4 years. 4 years
gotcha. Until
COVID. And I never really changed. I think that's the big thing for me. The difference between F45 and CrossFit is progression.
Yeah.
You can sort of progress in F45, but you're not trained to progress. You're trained to go in there and you'll do... you have 45 seconds to do deadlifts.
Yeah.
But you'll go to the deadlift station and there'll be like 6
preloaded weights.
Preloaded barbells. So there'll be a barbell with like 2 10 kilograms, then the next one with 2 20 kilograms. So it's like, and you just pick up the one that you think is good for you that day, and then you just do that. So everything's preloaded, and you have like 45 seconds. So how many can you do in 45 seconds? And then you move to the next station. So it's not like here where you actually learn how to properly and I mean, every time I did a deadlift at F45, I'd get injured. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it was really good to just kind of get me used to the gym and what is a deadlift, what is a squat, even though I found out during foundations my squats were completely wrong, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So because you don't get the same sort of, one-on-one like we did in the foundations where it's like, okay, but like make sure that your foot position and those kind of things, like you don't have that time in F45 because you're only on a station for 45 seconds max.
Yeah, and it's a 45-minute workout, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're just moving from one station to the other. So it was great for moving and, but I didn't feel a progression.
I didn't want to bash F45 on this episode because it is a good entry level and it's better.
Yes.
It's better than nothing for a lot of people. I think, like you said, is like you kept getting injured. You kept getting hurt through F45. Even on your running, you were kind of getting like continuous injuries that kept popping up. And going back to what you said about Guillaume is that, yes, he did play many sports growing up, right? And if you do have a sports background, you definitely will have a huge level up, I guess, than everyone else that doesn't, right? If you're only getting into training as an adult, there's so many things that you go through as a kid, like little minor tweaks and stuff. Like if you're an adult at 40 years old, if something gets hurt, like, and I don't mean like a broken bone or something, but if you get like a little tweak in something, the initial reaction is pain, bad, have to stop, need to sit down, can't do anything.
Yeah, don't do
When you're a
anything.
kid, you tweak your knee and you take a day off, and then the next day you're back in the gym, and yeah, it's kind of irritating. You kind of just push through and stuff. So you kind of go through those little injuries that toughen you up physically, but also mentally as well. But you were also having like a lot of injuries that kept happening. And yes, F45, you have the high energy, loud music, the fitness instructor that's boosting you up.
Cheerleader.
Yeah, the cheerleaders, right? The go, 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 45 seconds, push, push, push. You're going to get your heart rate up. You're going to get sweaty. And you're going to do a little bit of resistance training. But like you said, things are preloaded, massive class of 30 people. No one is coaching you movement there. Everyone is just like, pick it up. Go more repetitions, faster. You can do this, right? Versus like, hey, like Lucy, like your feet are way too wide right now. Let's bring them closer. Let's point your toes. Feel the weight distribution on your feet right now. Hey, when you deadlift, what is the first thing you do? Your butt pops up in the air first, right? Yeah. And so those little corrections are super important. And then also, well, how are you ever going to get a natural progression if someone chooses a preloaded barbell? If you're always picking up 55 pounds or 65 pounds, well, that's all you're ever going to lift, right?
No, exactly.
How much can you deadlift now?
Oh.
Do you know what
I think I'm like 200 was my 1 rep max.
You're lifting.
Yeah, I would have never done that at F45.
It's just no chance. There's just no opportunity for you
chance.
to ever progress to that level, right?
No.
So you kept getting these nagging tweaks and injuries and then setbacks. And I remember being so frustrated when we were doing our year of nutrition and everything. And it would be like, oh my goodness, like what is going on over there, you know? But that being said, it is good for a base level. Like it's going to get someone from a couch to nothing.
Well,
right?
And it was addictive at a certain point because it really started my day well. Like I did the 6 a.m. So I would go, then I would go to work. I would work all day, but at least I felt like I had got I'd burnt some calories.
Yes.
I, sweated it out in the morning and I was addicted to it.
Yeah.
So
like all
it
those
worked
things
for what it needed to at that time. And
Absolutely,
I don't I don't bash it. If that's all that somebody can do, then it's great. Like if it's just something that you want to just move and
get the endorphins up.
Exactly. It's great for that. But anybody that wants to progress and actually see improvements in their strength, body composition, you get to a point where you stagnate, and I don't feel that I am anywhere near that point here.
Yeah, absolutely. You've made leaps and bounds on your progressions, but not just physical, mental as well, right?
Yes.
So you start CrossFit 2022, right? Because we're just coming up on our 2-year anniversary, right? So you did your foundations, and you're just getting into it. You're still doing a little bit of F45 and doing a little bit of CrossFit, and I think you were still running a little bit at that time as well.
I was trying to fit everything in.
And then eventually you just fell in love with the CrossFit methodology, and you could like actually start to see these progressions that you're making. We're tracking our Metcons. We're doing these 12-week cycles, and wow, on week 1 I'm at here, and week 12, oh shit, I'm lifting like this much more weight than I was. Right. And then also you're developing new skills that you've never done in your entire life. I mean, hanging from a pull-up bar was really hard for you at the beginning.
Oh,
I remember you like Daphne, of course, gymnast, hops up there. Look, Mom, I can do kipping pull-up. No. And then you're going up there like, oh, my hands, they really hurt.
It took me a year to manage to do like 4 kipping pull-ups.
Yeah.
So.
Well, but do you remember when you're like, oh, my hands hurt. Like holding on is hard, right? And then you go, fast forward a few months, you do the open, right? You're getting your first ever toes to bar, and then you're doing like 19 of them, and you're just grinding it out. A few months after that, you're able to bang out 50 of them. Now you're doing them in the workouts, right? So you're seeing all these crazy progressions over these last 2 years. And besides just the physical adaptations, I would definitely say over the last maybe year, you've had huge like a mental shift in terms of trying to balance this high stress job, your kids, your family, your exercise. What would you say you feel the biggest mental side of things has shifted over the last few months? I definitely know that we've had a few important conversations, and there's one that maybe I'll touch on if you don't. But what do you feel like the biggest shift has been mentally for you aside from the physical stuff?
Well, I think making sure that I'm really putting myself first. And I don't say that in a selfish way, but like just, you know, I don't know if this is where you're going with this, Brandon, but as an example, at work, I'm very transparent about how important it is for me to have my physical time, like my time to work out, to the point where I have it in my agenda every day. And I also have in my signature of my email, I have a line that says from 5:30 to 7:30, I am not available. So everybody knows that I'm not available between 5:30 and 7:30 every day. But I think also
that's epic.
Yeah, and everybody knows that. And if they ask me, I'll tell them I'm at the gym with my daughter. Like I train every day with my daughter. Like this is non-negotiable. I will not answer an email between that time, and I'll do them after. I do a lot of emails after 7:30, but I don't do them while I'm at the gym. But I think also for me mentally, I was quite negative, and I know that I had a lot of lack of self-confidence. And even when we were working together with the nutrition stuff before, I really lacked self-confidence and just the drive to really just do it. I was self-sabotaging, and my mental state wasn't there. And I think since I've been in the community, I feel like I've become so much more positive about my abilities to do things. Now, side note, I know yesterday during the handstands, I was a bit negative. So sorry, Amanda. But that's something I still need to work on. But I think
you're much better.
Generally, I would say that I try to see every workout as a challenge. And I feel like, okay, I'm starting to get the move. Okay, kipping, I can actually start doing them. Okay, I can't quite chain together my toes to bar, but I'm getting my legs up higher. So I know I'm getting there. Those freaking double unders, I will get them. I promised myself.
Daphne put you on blast last week on those double unders.
The double unders, I will get them. I'm so close, but I just can't get, but I'm determined. So there's a few things that I'm really determined to get. So I think just my mentality of being more determined and not just giving up.
Yeah. Definitely confidence much higher. And I'll also say that we worked a lot on your belief system, like your mental state to believe in you being able to do something. Because for many years, maybe not many years, but for a couple years, you wanted to hit, let's say, a certain body weight. Now, body weight is not something that we need to focus on. It is a metric that we could focus on. But for you, you wanted to get to a body weight that you were prior to your first pregnancy.
Baby, yes.
First, before Laurier, your oldest. And for the longest time, you just said, well, it's not possible for me to get to that weight. Because now I'm 50 years old. That was in your 30s or 20s?
Yeah.
In your 20s, right?
Yeah, in my 30s.
In your 30s. Yeah. So you were like, I'm never going to get to that weight. And some of the things I told you is you're absolutely right. You're never going to get to that weight with that mindset, right? But until you believe that you could, if you put in a lot, I'm not going to say it's easy, but if you put in a lot of hard work and you believe in the process and you trust in the process and you commit to the process, then you could get to the body weight that you were prior to your firstborn, right?
Yeah. And I did it.
And you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this year in January, and just going back to Brandon, and it's great that we brought this up because before CrossFit Max opened, we worked together for a year on nutrition, and I was probably Brandon's worst client ever because I never actually lost weight in a whole year, and he would give me the nutrition.
Hold on, that's not true. You would lose weight at a small progression,
and then
which was the goal. And then, like you said before, you would kind of self-sabotage and be like, we'd be down maybe 3 pounds in the month. And I'd be like, if we keep this up, we're going to keep going. You know, after a year, you do 1 month, 3 pounds. You do that times 12. We're looking at a lot of weight loss at the end of the year. But then you would be like, I'm not losing weight fast enough. Self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Eat a lot of food. Go out and drink a lot. Go out to restaurants a lot. And then put that 3 pounds back on and maybe even progress a little bit more.
Exactly.
So it was a big fluctuation.
It was a huge frustration for Brandon and for me. But I think last year I just got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm making so many gains in the gym. Like I have the mindset, I have the strength to be able to do this. So in January, I spoke to Brandon, and I know that he doesn't like these 75-day challenges, but I decided to do it as a boost because I really wanted to say, look, I want to do something for myself.
Yeah.
So I did this challenge, and I did lose 22 pounds quickly. But I think since that finished in March, I've only gained back 5, and I've been very sustainable since. So I feel like I've got better in how I manage how I'm eating, but also that I've put myself first. Like, I'm not going to put that crap in my body. I don't, yes, I'll have a pizza on a Friday night, but I'm not going to then have crap for the whole rest of the weekend. Like, I'm really trying to think about my protein, always thinking about protein first. So there's so many like nutrition tips that I've learned from Brandon, and just also being in the community and seeing how other people are doing great with their weight loss as well. And I was, I really, from a mental standpoint, said I can do it, and I can get back to what I wanted to be before. Because I think when I had kids, unlike the mommies we have here that is like super inspiring, and I wish I had been like that, I sort of just let myself go for the whole time that I was pregnant with all 3 of them. I was like, okay, whatever, like I'll deal with it later. And I look at Susie, and I look at Malice, and I look at all the moms, and I'm like, oh my God, they're like so inspiring.
It's cool. They're all coming back.
Yeah,
to the
they're
gym
all
now.
coming back. But even the fact that they trained all through pregnancy. When I was pregnant, I was like on the sofa, and I didn't move for 9 months because, well, I'm pregnant. I can't do that. Like, it was a different mentality. Yeah. And now, I feel really proud, and like really proud of myself for what I've done in just turning around, not just my physical look, but also how I feel inside.
I think that last statement you said kind of hits it home, because 2 years ago when we started, or even 3 years ago, you would have never been proud of yourself. And that's been kind of the biggest shift. Like you said before, you're that type of person that hits a 5K, not proud of yourself. What's next? Okay, I do a half marathon. Okay, what's after the half marathon? Okay, like I've hit this. What's the next thing? Now you're at a point where, yes, I'm not a massive fan of doing like these quote unquote challenges. I mean, some have better implementation than others, booking in a weigh-in on a certain date and just saying, hey, we're going to do a 30-day weight loss challenge in 2 weeks from now, where people just, all right, well, let me get as heavy as possible in the next 2 weeks, eat a bunch of crap, get on the scale. Oh, finally, now I can just grind it out hard for 30 days. And then essentially you lose weight and you're like, okay, great. Yay. Where's my prize? Or did I win? Oh, I didn't win. Okay, then just go back to the normal eating habits you did before. But your 75-day challenge, like you said, was something that you could focus on for yourself while building on the habits that you had built throughout the last few years, right? Like, you still exercise at the gym, you added a little bit of accessory work after class, you were doing your core work.
Doing my core.
You were learning new skills in the kitchen, right? It wasn't just like there was some sort of diet, I think, that you were following, but there was a lot of learning process throughout that, and it wasn't particularly set for you to lose like the most amount of weight in that 75 days, but there were certain things that carried over, like prioritizing your protein, eating vegetables at every meal, drinking enough water, exercise, like all those things were building on habits that you had been starting to build on already. And then at the end of it, you had the right mindset going in, and at the end you get this result where, hey, I'm proud of myself. I had this belief system that I would never be able to weigh this weight again 20-something years later. And now I'm 51.
Almost 52.
Almost 52. And now I'm one of the lightest I've ever been in my life. I feel very functional. I feel capable. I have a very high stress job still. And I'm very sedentary throughout the daytime, but those things that you do throughout the day of like, hey, like I'm going to work out with my daughter, which I think that's just a huge plus. It's not, most people don't even take the time for themselves, but let alone it's something that you're doing with your family at the same time. Hey, don't call me, don't email me, I'm not available. Don't get all sassy with me because I didn't respond to you. 5:30, 7:30, I'm MIA because it's me time.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And I think, just putting myself first, but also what you said earlier about the fact that I was so sedentary most of my life, I sort of tried to instill this on my kids to say, don't make the mistake that I made. Like, I regret, I wish I could go back and change the way I was in my 20s and my 30s, but I can't go back. So I can only go forward with what I can do, but I can influence my children. And I've tried really to, especially Daphne has been my biggest win in terms of my 3 kids, in terms of getting her.
Oh, you hear that, Daph? You're the favorite.
Not the, she's the one that listened the most. But I really tried to instill in them healthy habits, and because I want them to sort of not miss out on what I feel that I missed out on. And I think now that I've made that mental shift also in my work, I actually feel at work, and it's crazy, like I'm so much more efficient. Because when I get to the office at 7 a.m. and I work till 3, that's usually my schedule. And from 7 to 3 when I'm in, and that's my like office time, because then there'll be time after. Yeah. But because I want to be home in time to get to the gym, I usually do more time, and then I'll do more after the work, after the gym.
Just a side note, you go at 7 a.m. for any particular reason? Do you have to be there at 7? Or you choose 7 a.m. so that
I can leave to come to
exactly, which I think is important, right?
Yeah. So
a lot of people don't know that. I'm going to wake up early to go to work so I can go get my workout after. Like, why don't they just work 9 to 5? You know, it's very important.
Exactly.
It's very
For
important
me, it's
differentiate.
really and it's funny because I've been, like I said, really transparent about it at work, so people know I will leave the office at 3. Take phone calls in the car on my way home, work till 5:30, and then come to the gym. And then, like I said, from 5:30 to 7:30, I am not available. Like, I will not answer an email, will not answer a phone. I don't take meetings. That is the time that I give to myself. But like I said, I've become so much more efficient in my work because first I feel super good. Like you said, I'm the lightest I've ever been, but I'm also the strongest I've ever been. My sleep is on point. I just feel so good. And I even had a colleague a couple of weeks ago that said, "You look so good, Lucy." Not just physically, but just my whole aura. Yeah. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, just putting myself first. And I find that that's really important because I love CrossFit. I love running. It's a non-negotiable.
If you have to give a few advices to certain people, I mean, that could be definitely one of them. But if you have to give any other advice to people who are in your situation, maybe having a hard time to make themselves the priority, would you give them?
Non-negotiable. It has to be non-negotiable, and it has to be in your agenda.
Gotcha.
Like, that for me is, if I'm doing now I'm doing my running program, my runs are in my agenda, when I'm going to run every day, when I'm coming to CrossFit, every time I need to look at my schedule, it's in the calendar. I have to do it. So for me, the agenda is really important, non-negotiable, and making sure people know, like, I'm sorry, like, you can live without me for an hour and a half while I go to the gym. Yeah. Because when I come back to you after, I'm going to be in a better place. Yeah. So for me, that's really important. And putting yourself first, like, life is too short to give all your energy to everybody else. Like, if you give energy to yourself, you'll naturally give energy back to everybody else.
It's really hard because so many people, you said it before, but you said that I feel like it's selfish, but it's not selfish. Like, you have to prioritize yourself. And Susan and I talk about this all the time. We're parents, we're new parents now. And it's so important that when you become parents, it's like, okay, this person is now my number one priority in my world.
Of course.
It's not meant to be that. You can't give them your best if you're not taking care of yourself first. So, yeah, I think every little bit of advice that you gave to those people there is going to be rock solid, and it's going to be the hardest thing. It's just making that switch of putting work first, putting family first, putting maybe your friends first, and putting everything else first before you. But then once you make that realization that, hey, wait, hold on a second, when I get myself as the best version of myself, then I could give more to my family, more to my friends, more to my work, more to my school.
And a happy mom is a better mom. And I can tell you that because my kids know that sometimes when I don't get a run in or my workout in and I'm cranky, they're like, "Mom, go for a run." So it's, I think once you've got that mentality, it's everybody around you should appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. And also, just a side note, if you did listen to last week's episode, what was one of the things that Daphne said? Do you remember? Which said one of the main things you would give people advice, either your age or older. She said, put in your schedule. Yeah. Right. Use an agenda. And I think she
learned that from me.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I think is so freaking cool. So you're having this positive influence. And like I said, like she also influences you. It's just really cool.
I think having a gym buddy, whether it's your child or anybody, I think having a gym buddy or someone that there's that external accountability also helps. Yeah. So if you're having trouble getting to the gym, I was talking to a colleague and she's like, oh, I just can't get to the gym. I'm like, if you want me to come with you one time, like just to get you started, like I think just having people, and what I like about our community is when you come here, you're with people that you know and people that have become your friends. Mm-hmm. And Danielle, she said to me yesterday, I signed up for the 5, don't change it. So I'm like, okay, I'm coming to the 5. Yes. So that was cool because, you're going to see people that you bond well with, and having that accountability helps as well.
Awesome. Okay, Mama Lucy, we end the podcast the same way every week with Client of the Week. Pew, 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 pew. There we go.
I'm trying to beat Daphne's pitiful. Pew, pew, pew.
You didn't like her pew, pew, pew last week?
Terrible. All right, I need to work on. I need to coach her.
We have 2 years to work on it with her.
Yeah.
This Client of the Week definitely deserves it because I think she is coming around for all of the things that we have spoken about in this episode. Particularly, she is a new mom. She came 3 times last week. She came twice this week, but then also showed up today for the walk with her daughter.
Exactly.
So she's a new mom, and that client is Mel Bucci. So thank you, Mel, for being such an awesome client. I can already feel a huge difference from a few weeks ago when you started coming back to she was doing once per week. She's like, I don't know if I should be doing it. Like, it's hard to make the time. Now she started coming twice per week. And then the last 2 weeks in a row, she's come 3 times each week. So new mom.
So inspiring to see these moms
starting to
out.
prioritize herself. She's always just got a smile on her face. And Mel, you deserve it.
And I'm just so inspired by all these moms, and good job, guys. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Heck yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to make a nice little donation to Alan's cause for the the London Marathon.
Yes.
You have a while. I think he has until like March or April to get all the donations, but we'll link his fundraiser down below for kidney research. He has to get to 2,500 pounds. So make sure you drop down in the link and donate. Even a small amount goes a long way. And thank you for tuning in. Lucy, did you have fun?
I did have fun. I'm sweating here, but I think I got through it okay. I'm not sure if I did as well as Tom, but Tom's the gold standard to beat.
All right. I had a lot of fun. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
See ya.